Hi guys, and welcome back to SwitchUp, and thank you to our Patreons who you can see below, and for all of you who leave comments in the comments section and are engaged on the channel. Okay, so let's have a little straw poll. Hands up who remembers who Roger Wilco was. No? Alright, that was a tough one. What about Joey the Robot and Foster? Okay, you can have an easy one to finish. Guybrush Threepwood, Mighty Pirate. The Raven Remastered is the evolution of an adventure genre that encompasses many a childhood. The beauty of the aforementioned games was their ability to create characters you wanted to know more about. After all, who wouldn't want to become a famous detective like Poirot or Holmes? The Raven Remastered aims to fulfill that desire, but has it got a clue? Let's find out. The mysterious thief, the Raven, was once the most successful and daring one the world had ever seen. With many high-profile heists to his name, and having never harmed a single person, he carried an air of mystery and even romance about him. Set in the 60s after seemingly having been shot dead, the story follows a potential copycat case, whereby one of two precious stones has been taken, only this time there's a bomb involved. Certainly not the hallmark signature of the Raven.
It's gonna steal the eye.
But how do you know?
Doesn't matter. All that matters is that we catch him. Do you understand?
Yeah, but
Do you understand? You and me, mate, we'll be heroes.
Some speak in hushed whispers of his return, but as you begin your journey aboard the famous Orient Express Railway, you can start to piece together a narrative quite different. I love the nods to film greats such as the murder on the Orient Express, and the character you play, a Swiss detective sent to accompany the last remaining precious jewel, has enough depth about him as to remain interesting. He feels that despite his long career, he's never had a chance to shine and show his detective prowess.
You won't.
Won't? Pardonnez-moi.
I can help, and I will help. You are in my country, and I have been ordered to assist you.
You're introduced to the cast, if you will, on the train ride, and many of these will be placed in the spotlight of suspicion throughout the game.
Are you traveling to Istanbul non-stop? No.
The writing is overall good, with a typically unique cast for you to question and probe throughout your time with the game. Dialogue can sometimes be a little long-winded, but as I said, the characterization is detailed enough that you generally feel happy to hear them out. I particularly like the early interactions between the protagonist and a young boy on the train. You will also hear some things that show the period within which the game was made. That would probably offend almost everyone this side of the year 2000, but that was a part of life in those days, and I commend the game for not shying away from these things, because that's the way that they were, just to please the modern masses. As with the best adventures, our journey of mystery, murder and discovery will take you through many different scenarios and continents. Indeed, when you board the ferry, it becomes the very thing that literally and metaphorically progresses the tale to other lands. One final point, the game is clever at referencing itself, but also making you aware that it intends to give you all the information you'll need to solve the case, if only you can see what's before your eyes. I always find endings a little lackluster, but the journey was where this game shone. Story scores 19 out of 20. You control the character directly rather than having a point-and-click interface, which is a welcome approach with a controller. Your inventory items can be looked at or held in the hand for use with the environment, or you can combine two items to create something useful, hopefully. The majority of the gameplay revolves around questioning different characters and occasionally solving more obscure item-based puzzles. For the most part, these are logical enough, however, having to place a torch on the side before you can then wrap a cloth around it and then have to create a separate light source only for it to not burn brightly enough was a little bit irritating. The solution was pretty obscure, but again quite logical when I finally got there. Raven does a good job of making you feel like an intelligent detective, with dialogue following the logical progression of your investigation. I would have liked some branching potential within these perhaps, based on the number of clues maybe that you found, or that you'd fully investigated, a la Rockstar's LA Noire, but this is much more of a linear experience and requires everything be completed in the set order it was created. Your character is placed in many different situations and scenarios, and one of the best parts of the gameplay is how the environments are so well realised. There are moments in these games that make or break them, Beneath a Still Sky had a moment about halfway through where the world just didn't open up enough to realise the game's full potential. Conversely then, I was initially worried the whole of the Raven Remastered would play out on the train, but this is simply one of several chapters which span other continents. If you're finding it particularly difficult to see and find an item on the screen, you can hold down the Y button, which will show you the location of any objects that can be selected. This wasn't really needed or useful at all, plus using it reduces your overall game score. Still, for those with the attention span of a gnat or the observation skills of a mole, it might be useful. Every element of the case is recorded in your journal as well, and this is a handy reminder of everything and every detail that you've seen so far. Overall then, the gameplay of the Raven Remastered is as you would expect for the genre. It doesn't deviate from a well-known and trusted formula. Get the items you need and exhaust the dialogue choices. Combine X with Y at the right time, and then use Y with Z. While that might not sound the most stimulating experience ever, trust me when I say this formula is easy to get wrong. Just ask the creator of Leisure Suit Larry, or some of the Walking Dead episodes for that matter. My main and only real gripe with gameplay are some longer than expected load times. This can be tedious in areas where you're moving between many screens. Gameplay and story work in unison to create a mysterious enough tale, and gameplay scores 16 out of 20. Visually, the game is excellent, really very impressive. The backdrops are detailed and resolution in both docked and handheld is decent. The main visual element I found most impressive were the shadows. Light may shine through a window, lighting up characters but also casting a shadow upon them. It just looks lovely. Character models are also on point, with each one having an almost hand-drawn quality to them, and you can tell the artists behind the game are a very talented bunch. There are a number of visual touches I enjoyed, from the hat blowing off your head when a window is opened, to the sea level in a porthole moving to show you're on the ship. Small, subtle, but showing a real loving care of the craft. Some of the facial animations aren't the best I've seen, but I appreciate the fully animated mouths, fingers, and while we're on the subject of animation, I was also impressed overall. Several custom animations exist, whereby the developers have gone the extra mile to add believability and realism to their game. For me, the visuals are top notch, from the authentic feeling train on which you can almost smell the leather, to the lush tropical sunshine aboard the ship, where I'm sure I could see a pina colada in the background. Top drawer. Visual score 18 out of 20. The vocal performances of the cast are of a generally very high quality.
I want to surprise my parents, especially my dad.
I'm sure he'll be very surprised. But what will you do if your father doesn't agree to the engagement?
What choice does he have?
You get the occasional over-the-top accent or overblown performance, but I feel that it matches the very nature of most murder mystery films, with the dramatic feints of a dame or the ham-fisted policeman determined to prove Britain is still relevant. Characterization is not always so effective, with a few performances just a touch too carry-on camping for my liking, like the captain on the ship, who has an Italian accent straight out of the movie Inglourious Bastards.
Welcome aboard the MS Lydia.
Un vecchio amico mio, Colonnello Hans Landa della SS.
Buongiorno.
The musical score is a mixture of light classical, mysterious to full-blown orchestral grandeur, and is once again perfect for setting the tone of the game. I found the audio levels were a little bit off and had to turn the music down a touch, but that was easy enough in the options. This score really is excellent as mentioned though, and shifts perfectly to match the on-screen proceedings, from the initially hoped for adventure to danger and then on to the Coco Cabana style bar aboard the ship. My only real gripe with audio is the slightly hammy accents of a few of those characters, but these are quite amusing to be fair. Audio scores 18 out of 20. The game costs £26.99, €29.99 and $29.99. Make no mistake, the Raven Remastered is a premium game. From the aesthetic to the audio, this is a fine adventure with high production values. As such, it commands a higher price on the eShop. I enjoyed the experience, and for fans of the genre, I don't think you'll be disappointed with the game. In an eShop filled with cheap, poorly made shovelware, it is a refreshing experience to play something with a great deal of care taken over every single aspect. While these games tend to be Much like a good novel, a one and done type experience, it is one I will happily add to my replay list along with the adventure games of my youth. Still though, it is expensive. Value scores 13 out of 20. As a huge fan of the genre, it has been interesting playing through Broken Age and Grim Fandango on my Switch. I couldn't help but long for that style experience but with new characters, and I feel the Raven Remastered delivers this well. What I didn't expect was how well the Switch would handle the visuals of the game. I've said this all so many times now. Overall, it scores a SwitchUp score of 84%. An adventure worth taking for sure. Thanks so much guys to all of you that listen, comment, leave a like on the video, and for all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!